This program is brought to you by 22trust.
Anti-Semitism is not new. Ever since Abraham became the father of the Jewish people, ever since he was the first person to make Aliyah, ever since the nation and the people of Israel came to this land here, there have been groups of people who've sought to destroy the Jewish people. There were the Hamans of old. There were the Egyptians who persecuted the people. Christian anti-Semitism regretfully has been tragic over the last 2,000 years. And the Holocaust under Hitler, of course, such a crescendo of hatred expressed against the Jewish people and seeking their annihilation. And even today, there are many forces, many people who express anti-Semitic feelings, would rather Israel was wiped off the face of the earth. This program is about a Jewish child who, against all the odds, survived the Holocaust and those who sought to kill her.
I was born in 1938 in Holland, and the very hard times actually had started already. Mine was the first grandchild for all sides of the family, and usually they would have been overjoyed. Grandchild, isn't that great? But times were so worrying, and everybody was very, very worried about the future. Did we have a future at all? In our family album, there is one picture when I was 1 year old. You see a birthday cake with one candle, and all around it, so many people was present. They all came to celebrate this first birthday. And that was it. That was actually the last picture taken of all of those people. Afterwards, I was all alone. I think that every Jew in Europe actually was all alone. And this loneliness has actually never left us. I still have it. I can be together with my husband and all my children and all my grandchildren and everyone, but it is incurable. The loneliness stays with us and dates back to that time when everybody disappeared, the one after the other. You know, this is where we used to live. It's here. I remember, this is the house where I was born. This is the house where I was born. It is 1940. I'm 2 years old. And we are all condemned to die. And my father, a young man, David, standing in front of this window with his hands on his back and looking out in that direction. That was the direction he looked at. That's where my grandparents, where his father and mother lived. And he checked maybe each hour, are they still there? My grandfather Jacob and my grandmother Leah, whose name I bear, and my aunt Batja, are they still there? Dutch police came, and my grandmother, she gripped the post of her door and held herself so they wouldn't be able to take her out, because she wanted to stay. She had to live. She had a son and a daughter-in-law and grandchildren. She had to stay here. But they were much stronger than she was, and they took her away. I remember that very well. Her eyes on this house. Yeah, it's still there. It's still there. You can still see it. There is this dark enclosure between the two houses. And when I was a little girl and I heard them speaking about the gas chambers, and people had been murdered, they had been pushed into gas chambers. And I imagined it, as children do, that this was a gas chamber. And I always took my dolls and I put my dolls in the gas chamber and I sat amongst them, and then I said, now we are going to die. I played gas chamber, and here is where I played it. It's still there.
What seemed like a chaotic situation was really a well put together plan. Because Holland was so well organized, Jews had ID cards and wore special markings. It was very easy to find them and round them up.
The enemy, they were knocking on the door. And my father ran out of the house and he ran through this garden and he disappeared through this gate. This gate was there. He was hidden somewhere. It was only because of the help of the non-Jews, people from the nations, like the Bible tells us. Bring my sons from afar. Bring my daughters from the ends of the earth. And God says that to the nations, not to us. He says that to the nations. And I think that is what the Dutch rescuers did. They brought Israel's sons from afar and Israel's daughters from the ends of the earth by keeping them alive. That was what they did. Otherwise we would not have been here anymore.
Leah had no choice into which family she would be born. To be born a Jewess, to be born in Holland, and to be a child at that period of time when the Nazis were seeking to rid European Jewry. And Leah is so clear when she quotes the scripture, "Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth." She knows that those righteous Gentiles were carrying out a mitzvot, a good deed in seeking to rescue Jewish children. I want to appeal to Christians today. We can choose to help Jewish people. We can choose to be those who will rescue and bring Jewish sons from afar and daughters from the ends of the earth. Will you help us?
It is imperative that we awaken a new generation who know little of the evils of anti-Semitism. Your gift to 22 Trust will assist us to teach those who through ignorance or neglect are blind to this evil which is still in our midst. We can help redress the situation by assisting victims, helping bring Jewish sons from afar and Jewish daughters from the ends of the earth.
My mother became the heroine when all hope was lost. She taught me very diligently and very dutifully. You'll always do what you are told, and you will not cry, and you will be very brave. You are my big, brave girl. And I was only 4 years old. I was a big, brave girl. They say that war is deception. But could you call this part of a war? To trick the Jewish people to their death? And that's what they did. They tricked us to our death. They knew how Jews were. They told the young men, If you go voluntarily and you get yourselves to Westerbork without us taking you by force, then we'll leave your little children alone. We'll leave your aged parents alone. We won't harm them. And we believed them, because we so very much wanted to believe it. What happened was that on a certain day, my mother started dressing me up, and she went on dressing me. She went on dressing me. She couldn't stop. She wanted to be a mother for all the days that we would be separated. And she put one dress on top of the other. My mother said goodbye, and she knew that now she should not cry. She must not cry, and she didn't. And she blessed me. She gave me, maybe for the very last time, "May God show you His face and give you peace."
In 1942, the transport started within Holland. Camp Westerbork became the distribution point to send the Jews of Holland to their deaths. 107,000 Jews were rounded up and brought to Westerbork by train. Out of the 107,000 Jews, 102,000 were executed in various concentration camps.
I remember going to the train station, and there was the train, and in the train I saw all the young men of the family, all my uncles, all the men who were young and strong. They were sitting in that train. The strength of our family was being taken away. My father took care that me and my baby sister should be taken away from our home before the Nazis came. And very good people, Gentiles, they came and they took me away. And after their children were gone, my father and mother went as they had been commanded to do by the Nazis. Masters over life and death of every Jew in Holland. They went to the train station and they climbed into the train. And my father was prepared. He knew exactly where the train would have to slow down, and that's where he jumped from the train. And they were picked up by a farmer who found them in his fields, and they were taken to safety.
Fathers removed from their families, mothers forced to give away their children in a hope that they might save them. Families ripped apart, and this the Nazis did in front of the eyes of the world. The Bible describes these days as ones where the Jewish people are plundered and looted, and there is no one to rescue them and no one to say, "Send them back." Will you stand with Exodus today? Will you join with us to help rescue the Jewish people? Will you be ones who will stand up and say, "Send them back"?
22 Trust is standing by to receive your call. You can stand with us today. You can raise your voice with us and help rescue the scattered people of Israel. Call the number on your screen. Your gift of 49.22 or your gift of any amount will help make a difference, and you can identify with the scripture which calls Gentiles to engage in this process.
I think we went to Nijmegen, which is a city in the south of Holland. And I can't have been there for too long. I talked too much and told the little girl My mother was so much more beautiful than her mother could ever be, because my mother had a beautiful golden star on her chest. And it was a terrible thing to say. And the father was a Nazi, and he heard me say that and went straight to the people that were hiding me and said, "Look, she's playing with my little girl. I don't want to kill her here and now. If she's here tomorrow, still I'll kill her." And in the middle of the night there was a young man from the Dutch resistance, and he took me on his back in a potato sack, and he bicycled with me all through that night, through Holland. And he knocks on a door, here. Those tiny, poor homes, he knocks on one of those doors. People open the door and he says, "Take it. I am being followed. I'm almost sure that the Germans are after me." And he gives them his potato sack and is gone. And there's a potato sack, and they put it on the table, and it is warm and it moves, and they open it, and inside, a little girl. They kept me.
There's a new phase introduced in the deportation of Jews. And this was when collaborators, members of the NSB, the Dutch Nazi party, as you can call it that way, were lured into a certain collaboration, namely to hunt, and that's how they called it, to hunt for Jews. And they discovered people in hiding, and they got a receipt for money. Every Jew that was betrayed by Dutchmen gave him 7 guilders 50. 7 guilders 50 back in 1943 was the price for half a pair of shoes. So that was the value of a human life.
There was a razzia, and they were looking for Jews all over the place, and they entered our home too, and I was pushed into this cupboard. I was suffocating. I couldn't breathe, and I pushed the winter coats aside, thinking that I would get more air. And at the moment, I pushed them to the sides. The doors of this cupboard opened, and a German soldier was standing there, and he looked at me straight. He looked at me. He saw whom I was. I knew that then. And he closed the doors of the cupboard, and he said, "Nothing here, let's go on, waste of time." Amongst many other horrible things, people realized that I had to disappear. People took me to another town. It must have been far. And there was a couple, Jelle and his wife, had no children of their own. And they were overjoyed. And they took in little me as if I were their own daughter.
They kept her. And this was at great risk, not only to themselves, but also to their families. Thank God for the righteous of the nations, people who actively supported and sheltered people like Leah. God is no man's debtor, and He promises to bless those who bless the children of Israel. Will you join Exodus today and extend words and actions that the Jewish people might be kept and become the people and nation that God intends them to be?
Actions do make a difference. Your gift of 4922 or your gift of any amount will enable 4922 Trust to support God's ancient people, helping them to be a free people in their own land. May we be amongst the righteous of the nations, those who seek not our own blessing, but the blessing of the seed of Abraham. Call now and put your gift into action.
In Holland, you know that more than 90% of Jewry of the Jews of Holland were murdered, more than 90%. The good people who saved us, they were God-serving, Bible-believing, good people who obeyed God and no one else. I remember standing in front of this huge Dutch window. For me, they were almost the symbol of the Holocaust in Holland. Because through those big windows, the Dutch people had seen us being taken by force out of our homes and being taken in the most brutal way to waiting cattle cars and shipped to our deaths. I'm standing there in front of this huge Dutch window and see the soldiers, the German soldiers being marched through the streets, and I can still see them up till this day with their hands folded behind their heads, and it made me very happy to see that, very. And then, although no civilians could be outside, I see this couple and I hear people knocking on our door and being let in. And there's this woman. She's so beautiful, beautiful. And she falls on her knees next to me. She cries, may God bless you and keep you and make you like our archmothers Sarah and Rivka and Rachel. I ask, Mama? And she says, yes, of course. And I look at the man standing there at the side, crying. And I look at him again and I say, Papa, Father, Daddy. Yeah, Mommy and Daddy have come back. The war is over. Everything is finished now. I've been a brave, good little girl, and I may go home with them again. War is over. My father tried to find out what had happened to everyone. Parents, sisters, brothers, and all the family, maybe all together, I don't know how many people, more than 100. And slowly, and I'm talking about years, he learned the fate of each and every one of them. And it was always the same. Letters came from the Red Cross and told us where everyone had been killed. Not how they had been killed, that we knew. I returned home after having been hidden by many good people. And when I say that I returned home, that is not true at all, because the home I left, a home always full with so many people, that home did not exist anymore. If I think back at those days when I was such a lonely little child, I had the feeling that I couldn't bother Mommy and Daddy. I had the feeling that I had to take care of them, that kind of I was their little mother. And I was afraid that I would be unable to give them that support. They might commit suicide. And my fear that they would kill themselves was maybe also a fear of myself that I would do a thing like that. Samsi Bashamai. Zu Israel v'koalo, shimor al amecha, v'al yirecha, v'al mishkan kvadecha. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Here they will all be in brought. And as long as I live, it will live in me, and it will always be here. And the same way they could never destroy, really, the temple in Jerusalem, they could not, because we always kept it in here, in our hearts, inside us. And that's where it will always be. Savta Miriam, my grandmother Miriam. You know, don't you? You are always with me. And we don't fear anymore. We do not. Because we do know so very well that not fighting and giving up will be the end, like it was when you were on this earth. We'll never give up. We'll always go on fighting.
Regretfully, most of the world was silent and very few were willing to stand with the Jewish people and fight for what was right. And sadly today, that is true too. The people of Israel and the nation of Israel are facing such overwhelming odds. It needs people like you and I to stand with the Jewish people for their security, for their peace, for their freedom, and for their right to live.
Call us now, even if you have called before. Your gift of 4922 will help you identify with the call of God, who through the prophet Isaiah beckons to the Gentiles, and together with 4922 Trust, we can help bring Jewish sons in our arms and carry Jewish daughters on our shoulders. Do call us, raise your voice with us, stand with us, and help us fight the curse of anti-Semitism, that we may see the establishment of God's people in His land for His glory. As God enables you, show the Jewish people how much you care.
Thank you for joining us in this program. You have just seen part 1 of Leah's story. Will you join me in blessing her, blessing her family, blessing her nation, and blessing her God, the God of Israel?